Hello students, welcome to Legacy IAS Academy. In today's video, we are going to discuss about World Wildlife Day that is celebrated every year on 3rd of March, and today is 3rd of March. So let us try to understand what is the significance of celebrating World Wildlife Day, what is the theme of this particular year's WWD, that is World Wildlife Day, and what is the purpose behind celebrating such events. So first of all, to give you the brief background about this particular event, every year on the 3rd of March, all across the world, March 3 is celebrated as World Life Day. World Wildlife Day. It is marked annually to draw attention to the issues of both conservation of flora and fauna, that is both plant life as well as the animal life. Now, if you talk about this particular year, the WWD site states that this year the theme for this particular day is partnerships for the wildlife conservation. It will allow us all to celebrate all conservation efforts from the intergovernmental level to even as small as the local scale. So obviously the question can come into your mind that why this particular day? Why on March 3 we celebrate or we have decided to celebrate the World Wildlife Day? So the history and the story goes like this, that somewhere in year 2013, the United Nations General Assembly proclaimed March 3 as UN World Wildlife Day. The reason why this day was chosen is because it was at this particular day the Convention on International Trade in Endangered Species of Wild Fauna and Flora, also in short called as CITES, was signed in year 1973. And thus, to celebrate and raise awareness of protecting the world's wild animal and plants, and to do that, the UN has decided to celebrate the World Wildlife Day. March 3 of this particular year, obviously, since the convention was signed in 1973, marks the 50th anniversary of the site's establishment. So in this video later on, we'll also try to understand that what is the purpose of site, what is the criticism, as well as what are the detail about the site's mechanism. So if we talk about the sites itself, it is believed to be at the global scale one of the most landmark international agreement on conservation signed between the governments. The main aim of CITES is to ensure that the international trade in specimens of wild animals as well as plants do not threaten the survival of the species. In other way, we can also say CITES strive to ensure controlled trade over the wild fauna and flora, and the trade in wild animals and plants that crosses border between the countries. The effort to regulate it requires international cooperation and to safeguard certain species from overexploitation. And as far as the site secretariat is concerned, this is the main duty or the objective of the site. Apart from that, overall, if you look at the protection umbrella of this particular convention, it applies or it actually affords varying degree of protection to more than 37,000 species of plants and animals across the world that range from live animals and plants to wildlife products that is derived from them after their death also. These include food products, exotic leather goods, as well as the medicines. If you take a look at the organization itself, CITES organization has currently 194 members and India is one of the member states. If you look at the global map here, you can see all the countries which are marked in red are the member of the CITES. That means almost we can say more than 90% of the UN countries are the member of CITES. The administration of this particular mechanism or this particular convention is done in the Geneva, where its secretariat is situated. Geneva is a city in the Switzerland, and the conference of parties to CITES occurs after every 1 year, and it is believed to be the supreme consensus-based decision-making body. And whatever decision is taken in this conference of parties or COP meeting is basically it is since it is a voluntary organization, the decision cannot be enforced, but largely it provides framework under which the national governments can work to ensure the protection of the wildlife, both flora and fauna. So if you take a look at the how implementation of the CITES convention, CITES decision is taken into India. So at the topmost level, nodal level, the implementation of the CITES mechanism is done under the control of Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change. And within that, we have a statutory body, that is the Wildlife Crime Control Bureau. And it is the WCCB, which is especially has been given the task to combat organized wildlife crime in India. And thus, It both assists as well as advises the custom authorities at the border regions in the inspection of the consignment of flora and fauna, that whether it violates sites or it is following the principles enshrined in the sites. If you look at the working mechanism of sites, all the protected animal species as well as plant species has been basically categorized into three appendixes. So the first of all, we have Appendix 1. So if you look at the Appendix 1, it basically includes all those species across the world which are threatened with a high degree of extinction. And thus, trade in such a specimen of the species by the CITES Convention is permitted very, very rarely, only in the exceptional circumstances. For example, we have Indian lion that is considered that is included in Appendix 1, and apart from that we have the gorilla that is also included in the Appendix 1. Similarly, then the next level of protection is given to the animals that is included in Appendix 2. Here those species which are not necessarily threatened with extinction, but in which the countries have asked sites to enforce their mechanism to ensure that their trading is controlled, because otherwise their survival can be seriously threatened. So for example, we have some sort of foxes, some type of foxes are there, hippopotamus is there, are some animals that is included in Appendix 2. And the least degree of protection is given to the animals that are put in Appendix 3. These category belong to such animals, such a species which are protected in at least one of the country which are the member of CITES, and this one particular country have asked other CITES parties for assistance in controlling the trade so the numbers not fall down below the optimum level. For example, the golden fox and jackal in India, silver jackal India are example of the animals in Appendix 3 of the CITES. However, despite all this functioning mechanism and the rules laws convention, there has been several criticism that has been offered to the CITES. For example, CITES allow certain types of animal species to be traded, and thus many wildlife experts claim that any decision to allow trading in certain animals further legitimizes their movement and increases the possibility of their illegal trade. And thus they suggest that altogether any kind of trade in the wild specimens should be permanently banned. Second, site protection lag after a species is determined to be threatened by the international trade. For example, what happens, as we have seen in the case of pangolin, CITES convention kicked in at that time when already millions of pangolins has been illegally traded. So many times it is late also in bringing some animal species under its protective umbrella. Third is countries, even if they do not follow the CITES convention, they are rarely sanctioned and the process can become highly politicized, and thus overall effectiveness of the CITES convention become very, very weaker. And last but not least, as we have discussed, the voluntary nature of the membership that CITES offer. So since the nature of membership itself is voluntary, whatever decision that is taken by consensus in the conference of parties meeting is not legally enforceable, and thus no one is strictly bound to follow its direction, and that is why we can say the CITES do not have tooth to enforce its decision. However, what we can say in the conclusion, that issue of international convention not going for far enough to enforce their mandate are basically common in all type of agreement, whether it is related to conservation of wildlife or whether it is related to climate change, as you see. However, given the number of parties involved are very, very higher, this is something that has to be expected. They rest on the implicit agreement that while the bodies generally do not have power to penalize or take strict action against the non-complying states or non-complying parties, at least there is a level of commitment that is given in this kind of meeting that ensures some common ground as a first step to ensure harmony in the nature. And thus last we can say that is not only bad things, criticism is there that we can portray against CITES, it also has been successful in many cases. For example, it has helped a lot in recovering the South American bichona, which is a small member of camel family, as you can see from here, and also it has helped in increasing number of Nile crocodile population by banning and restricting the trades of these two species. So I hope you understood about the CITES, why we celebrate March 3 as World Wildlife Day and what is the significance. If you like the video, please hit the like button, share it with the full aspirants, as well as subscribe to our channel for more such content. Thank you very much.